Very, very possible. Here we go. Time for a little bit of TVT in the elimination match of the group. In the bottom right-hand corner representing TCAP, we've got the Red Terran player from France. It is MarineLorD.
And his opponent in the Northwest, spawning as the Blue Terran player, rocking that Psystorm gaming logo. He is SpeCial. It's such a weird conversation to have, too, because we talk about, right? I mean, obviously, everybody knows, MarineLorD playing a lot of AoE 4. He's obviously been broadcasting. He's on top of that leaderboard. Where exactly comes the, this crazy hype everybody still believes, and that's because I guess he kind of came in nonchalant, right? When he made his pro return to SC2, expectations were very low, and he just trounced a bunch of people instead. But you kind of look at SpeCial, and he's sort of the antithesis of that. He's the foil to a guy like MarineLorD. He's busting his butt. He's the hard worker. He's the guy practicing with the Koreans all the time, taking the notes from guys like TY and stuff like that. So you're like, okay, well, obviously, if that makes you feel like SpeCial's the one that's putting in more practice, and especially in SC2, and should be in stronger form, but it doesn't always seem to translate, because it's not like MarineLorD doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting discussion. I was kind of just looking through MarineLorD's match history because I wasn't so convinced that he'd been playing worse or so. I feel like he had been playing a fair amount of StarCraft. He had been showing up to qualifiers, right? It's not like he fully switched off from StarCraft 2. But some of his results in those qualifiers definitely weren't quite what you expect them to be. And okay, they're on other servers late at night sometimes, etc. as well. But he has not really had a good performance in TVT, especially because he's not played a lot of Terrans in fairness. But since he was kind of in the European regionals, I also kind of get behind the idea of he was like a bit of a different player then. He was much more into SC2, fully practicing and preparing for opponents as well. So yeah, it's a really tough series to call. It's one of those ones that can go either way. Are we shocked with any of the scorelines here? I really don't think so. It's just one of those ones that's up in the air, and let's see what happens. I do think that SpeCial always likes to mix in the mech a little bit more than MarineLorD and TVT. And I do think that on these new maps, there's some that are kind of nice for mech as well. So maybe something we could see as we move along.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see which direction SpeCial tries to take it. Does he try to play styles that are going to be more towards that, where he's like, okay, I'll take it slow, try to just get to a place where I'm comfortable, and then go for the kill? Out of MarineLorD, I kind of like this, right? He's going quick into the Reactor Reapers with a bit of Hellion support on top of that, and SpeCial is going to be able to barely deny this command center from building for a little bit. But the coolest thing about watching MarineLorD play, and I think one of the reasons why we've still been hyping him up so much, despite everything, is that he is a player that is actually relying to some degree on strategy a little bit more than mechanics. And we know that in StarCraft, no matter how smart you might be, no matter how many brain folds you have, execution decides the majority of games. Like there are situations where players are hard blind countered, and their ability to micro and just understand what they need to do, even though they're at a strategical disadvantage, they can almost always overcome it if they make the right moves from any point. So MarineLorD comes straight up the ramp with the 3 Reapers and Hellion, and SpeCial in an awkward spot. His 1 Hellion trying to get a little repair action going, does get popped. It's just a single siege tank, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. He's going for some weird stuff. It's not the most normal thing to get busted out, but you love to see it out of him, making the really aggressive Reaper play since he was able to pick that one off that had poked the base earlier, and all of a sudden SpeCial's down 10 workers, and you're like, okay, it doesn't seem like MarineLorD's really lost his step.
Yeah, my special prediction seems pretty bad right now. This was really weird. I mean, straight away, SpeCial lost the Reaper in the middle, so that was kind of rough, but he's building the tank. I'm like, okay, you get the tank out, etc., but then he never raised the depot, and he knew what was happening. He pulled the SCVs with the low ground, so he didn't raise the depot. Yes, the Reapers could have still gone in, but then the Hellions aren't helping you, right? So I found that very strange, as now these units get on top of the tank that will force an siege and SpeCial.
That's the kind of cocky stuff MarineLorD does. He's like, okay, I don't need to try to run away and save this. Like, I know I can probably force the unsiege. That means he's no longer at threat of getting popped as he jumps up into the main base. Can get another SCV or 2. If he gets the Raven energy, I think that's huge, because he's not a player that's going to want to stop bringing the pressure and bringing the pain. So he does manage to clean this up without the turret, but he loses another 6 workers, and all of a sudden, we're just like in this really awkward spot where 17 SCVs have died by the 5-minute mark.
It's not even a competition anymore, right? You're down 14 workers already. Yeah, you've got a couple of tanks, but I mean...
It is TVT. In all fairness, it's probably the only matchup where you can lose this many workers and still actually have a decent shot of getting back into it. But you're completely right with just the way that MarineLorD is set up. He's looking good.
Yeah, I love that he's already being aggressive as well, right? Just looking for an opening. Maybe you can get in siege of a gas or something and just work his advantage from there. And again, what do you do then in SpeCial? Well, he's actually going to be a little bit far forward here, so this is going to be Ravenoff as well, as you drop an auto turret each. And for the moment, the second tank definitely putting in some value for SpeCial, and MarineLorD will have to keep on running. He wasn't reinforcing this either, as a Viking here too could maybe keep chasing that Raven, but he doesn't want to go.
And I think the Raven still moves a little bit faster, so as long as he keeps it on the run, he should be okay. Double Viking being produced by MarineLorD, and this is something that we see a lot in TVT as you get that third command center. It's all about the power units. That's what we're talking about, the workers. Even losing some SCVs, you can still get the gas for these tanks and Vikings together, but turrets are going to come down. There's the rest of MarineLorD's forces. He gets his tank siege. Cyclone pops, and the siege tanks on the back end for SpeCial are actually quite hurt. He does have a Liberator coming towards him, but again, we were talking about it. Double Viking, he's already got that production going. He should be able to keep himself safe.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to keep on pushing here. He's completely all in, right? No third base or anything, no looking to the future. So he needs to do some damage as this Liberator and a couple of siege tanks start to go forward. He needs to kind of get into position and make something happen here as we have a couple of spikes here, but doesn't seem to affect the players because we do not pause. So I assume that's just on the observer end for now. As the Vikings and Ravens, well, okay, you're in range of the starport. That's actually really nice for SpeCial, denying the starport production. But again, he needs to do so much here because of the position he's in.
Yeah, I guess a lot of traffic starting to push as the Americans wake up for the servers. It looks a little bit sloppy here, but that air control from MarineLorD is putting him in a great spot. Like focusing on keeping the air control in TVT, that's this matchup in a nutshell. And we don't have that third command center like you were saying from SpeCial. He could continue to build his tanks, but he lost so much of the mineral income that anything he would build behind it on a move out is off the board. And without air control, without a way to bully the vision, his tanks, he can't push into this. So he's just kind of stuck. He's just kind of waiting for MarineLorD. Honestly, at this point, if there's not enough Marines, you just drop auto turrets and land the Vikings. The Vikings will two-shot these tanks.
Yeah, he matrixes so you can get a couple tanks in range. So he's at least going to kill 2 siege tanks here, right? And that's pretty much a guarantee. He loses one pretty quick, but now he gets them both. Lands the Vikings. You're going to get another siege tank here.
GG.
And SpeCial knows there's just not going to be enough. MarineLorD is able to take the 1-0 lead in this best of 3. It was decided by the Reaper Hellion, and it's just not meant to do that much. And I really kind of struggle to see why SpeCial didn't raise the depot, so I thought the tank would help out a lot, but not if you're just taking so much damage before that even on the map.
I love everything I saw out of that game from MarineLorD. Going for the reactored Reapers. Like sometimes you get the Reaper, you build the factory, you build the reactor, and you're like, okay, well, I'll build maybe I'll build another Reaper out of the barracks, but you usually go reactored Hellions. He's like, no. Going with the Reapers in this way just kind of gives you that crazy utility with the grenades, and especially because SpeCial does the normal things. Like, oh, well, I've got, my first 2 Reapers. I'm doing everything standard behind this. I'm going to go maybe poke, kill an SCV. But he ends up in this spot where losing those 2 Reapers on the map just turns into a horrible mess where he's pulling SCVs. 17 workers dead by 5 minutes is brutal. If he had just gotten the 10, I'm like, yeah, TVT, it's more about the gas than it is about the minerals. You can still saturate the refineries if you're behind on workers, but he got put into a crater early.
Yeah, I think I agree, right? 10 workers, and maybe you get like a counterattack, go and you kill some workers yourself, it's whatever. But 17, and the fact you just had to wait to deal with it for so long.
Brutal.
Just doesn't work. I just don't...
Marines aren't going to do anything against this.
Yeah, can you imagine the depots up though? And like the Hellion can't join in for a little while, then the tank only has to deal with the Reapers right away.
Yeah, no, that's a huge slip up too.
And then this fight in the center was very good for MarineLorD as well. I mean, at this point I thought it was already over. And it was really already over, so... Yeah, clean stuff from MarineLorD. Obviously took a lead early, played it out, took the win, knew what he wanted to do, and up 1-0 now in this best of 3.
Yeah, he understood the matchup. He understood the win condition when it comes to TVT. Air control, air control, air control. If you can build that 1 tank at a time and get the Vikings out, you can deal with pretty much anything. Just like this guy did, representing Team Cap in the bottom left, the red Terran player. He is MarineLorD.
Top right-hand side of 2,000 atmospheres, our blue Terran player SCV's going across the map. It is SpeCial. SCVs, but I believe just the one SCV.
Cheeky. It's just the one SCV, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, just going to pop that down and obviously get ready to typically go Marauders here and put on some early pressure and see if SpeCial can get an early advantage of his own this time around.
You'll love to see it. I mean, could be a deep fried build too. Never know if somebody just decides to throw the factory down after and just go for that crazy fast tank Viking rush outside your base. I've seen insane things like that before. But look at MarineLorD's build. It's going to be that, what I can only assume is like the 2 racks Reaper. Like you go double racks Reaper.
Yep.
Defensively, this just dunks on most proxy builds that you could get thrown your way. And the Marauder, of course, is going to be a little more tough to deal with if that's what SpeCial goes for against this. But conversely, it's a great offensive build that you can expand behind because it doesn't cost all your minerals to do this. And it's actually just the single proxy Reaper out of SpeCial. This does start to make me nervous because there's no way that he overwhelms MarineLorD in this position at all.
This is worst case scenario. With the Marauder, at least I believe you can get a couple SCVs. Reapers have to be really careful of the slow. But in this situation, you're just down your barracks production while the other guy's pumping 2 Reapers at a time. Yeah, I really don't like this. And the one thing for SpeCial is maybe he can keep it here, and if MarineLorD goes across the map, then he can dive in and get a couple kills before another Reaper shows up. But of course, will never be as bad as usual, as he is going to come through, and he actually takes the first shot. Now he gets a couple off, so SpeCial takes the advantage. Probably feels like he can chase. But
this map, too, there's no cliff to jump up from the natural into the main on 2,000 atmospheres. The only way for him to get in is the ramp, or he has to go to the Reaper spot outside the 3rd. So there's 0 chance he could have tried to force that fight without the 2nd Reaper finishing up. And like you were talking about, with double barracks production, it's about to be 3 versus 2, best case scenario. And obviously, if he gets a 2 versus 1, or he's able to just get across the map and fight some SCVs, because he's just going for the tech lab, not building a quick mine, no quick Hellion. This could get awkward really fast. That command center, there's nothing to defend it while it's in production.
Yeah, I really hate it.
And the depot, look, he's just going to leave it.
Oh, man. I mean, he knows he's in trouble. SpeCial going to raise up the depot's SCV.
It's like finding the Christmas
trouble.
present half wrapped.
Yeah, I mean, this is just craziness, right? It's so bad.
How much is he going to YOLO it here? Okay, so he sends the one up top to bait, so the bottom 2 can get in without getting hit by the grenade. And 2v1, and now 1v1. That one Reaper is not going to be able to get away. So the Cyclone is about to finish. And he can't jump down to the natural, as we've said. This map is not going to open the door for that. He is going to delay this 2nd factory, which I think is also worth pointing out. SpeCial going straight to the 2nd factory. Obviously, the Cyclone is great against pretty much everything in low numbers early game. I mean, I get one shot by a mine, but that's not what's happening in this match. So he's got something to keep himself alive. And what is this?
It blocks the SCV.
Was he like putting his arms out, putting his elbows out, his hands on his hips, like
genuinely works though, right?
I mean, bruh.
It blocks the SCVs, it makes them go around the other way, I suppose. Like they gotta go the long way around. Yeah, at first I was like, okay, what is this? But actually, it does kind of have some use as the Cyclone.
It is a power move. It's a power move.
It is. Marine pops out. It's gonna deal some damage. Gets 2 SCVs. Make that 3. No, not quite. As the Cyclone will make it 3 now, but. Yeah, not a bad little start. 2nd Cyclone coming across. I do hope MarineLorD clicked on the 2nd factory and realized it's a factory and not a starport, right? Because that's an easy assumption to make. And yeah, MarineLorD, all of his Reapers are dead. He's the one now taking worker damage, and he can't quite mine off a natural, so SpeCial is catching up on the natural a bit.
Double Cyclone. So he's putting himself in a mech position. This siege tank is so important. He has to kill this. Good save. So siege tanks, I mean, they kill Cyclones in 2 hits. They're incredibly good versus the Cyclones. If he had sniped that there, I think this game potentially starts to snowball out of control. Because the barracks is going to give vision. He can maintain the 14 range lock-on. He's getting mag field accelerator, which is going to double the DPS against the armored units. So he'll do 800 damage over 14 seconds, and that is going to make it very hard to get around. But he's going to throw this drop back out on the other side. But Cyclones, that upgrade does not affect anything that isn't armored.
Yes, it's going to get the medevac, and then nothing else in the medevac. So maybe you can deny the medevac, but the Marines could still be able to do some damage as long as the medevac doesn't.
It'll still be a lot of Cyclones though, right? Like two factories going for this long. He should be okay as long as he's not rallying out across the map.
I like it for MarineLorD just sort of maybe keeping the Cyclones at home or making them think they should stay at home a little bit, because obviously if this amount of Cyclones just sits outside your natural, how do you ever do anything else in the game? Because every time you try and move forward, Cyclones get a little lock on. Yeah,
and he's going to kite you to death. That's a good point. Good point, Wardy. Wow. This series is, I think it's delivered in terms of everybody kind of expecting it to be weird.
Yes.
Right? I think the last thing that we thought this match would be is like Innovation Tasia Whirlwind. We're not. Gentlemen's handshake, 1 racks expand, and then we're going to split the map and play for 45 minutes. We could still get to the split map, but this is going to be quite a way to get there as he goes double siege tank, so he needs to start preparing for the bio to move out. The tricky part with Cyclones, great early game, like here, that medevac's super dead. That's a fantastic pickoff, but it's past this phase where the Cyclones just start to become, you know, more or less useless. They're garbage versus bio. They're not going to be able to survive a couple hits from the Marines and Marauders, so you need to get back into the tanks. You need to get a reactor on the starport and start pushing out those Vikings. I do like the Liberator he got, though, because I don't think we have a Cyclone for MarineLorD. So if the Liberator kind of like slips in the back, maybe gets a cheeky siege up on a mineral line, could actually end up doing quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, no, I love the Liberator. I think it's a good way to maybe get some harassment done. And yeah, those Cyclones, the best they're probably hoping from here is like the 3rd CC gets too adventurous, lands too soon. We saw that last season finals, I think Time versus Bunny or so.
It's one of the best. It's one of the best ways to use them past that point. You do want to keep the Cyclones out on the map because, again, they're not really good defensively because it's like, yes, you can kite and retreat, but if they're at your base, they're at your base. You need to be there. So keep them out, try to get value out of them, and here we go. Yeah, Liberator immediately going to get a couple of SCVs and force that big pull. So not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. A couple of SCVs going down. Raven comes out the front and joins up with everything else. And obviously, I mean, SpeCial will have that Liberator come back into play later as he's scanning. He wants to know, you got your 3rd base down yet? And sees that that's a no while he's got his own 3rd rolling with Mech. I mean, SpeCial's probably loving his position right now. His gases are working. He's getting his tank line set up. The sensor tower's online. Here comes a big push from MarineLorD. Let's see if SpeCial can defend it.
This is going to be a crucial moment. The sensor tower is a great call, and like you said, Wardy, he built the 3rd. I think he built the 3rd on location. He took it as early as he possibly could. When you're playing mech in any matchup, one of the hardest things to do is float a base over somewhere because usually your army's set up to defend a certain place. Taking it earlier actually does make it easier to hold on to because you can start to put that infrastructure around it.
Cyclone's got the Raven. That's
huge snipe, disables one of the Cyclones, but the tanks are there, ready to rock and roll on the defense.
Better to get the Raven anyway, right? Like you said before, Cyclones, they do not do much at this stage. That's pretty much one of the best things they can do outside of that 3rd CC we were talking about. MarineLorD going to get to drop in and try and keep that active as the Cyclone's looking for a lock onto the siege tank. He knows what he can get here. He will get it. Cyclone's finding value from SpeCial, and MarineLorD just bleeding out units.
Yeah, wow, having all of the tanks on siege. I won't say any. You can unsiege a few of them, but keeping all of the tanks on siege like that is kind of asking for it. The lock-on range is really good. And look at this. He's ready to catch the medevacs. One gets popped. He's going to try to unload here, but takes even a bunch more damage on the others. The Liberator's kind of ready to protect the Vikings from the cliff. You don't see that every day.
I mean, SpeCial's playing an amazing defensive game, and obviously MarineLorD is a little unlucky because everything he's trying to do is going wrong. It's not just one drop, it's been every drop shut down. I mean, just credit to SpeCial because he's been in all the right places. He was able to catch the Raven. All of this is because of the unit positioning he's making happen on the map. So, got to give credit to SpeCial, who's just going to slowly keep on massing up because that's how mech works. And the longer that this goes on without MarineLorD dealing damage, the worse it's going to be for him.
Yeah. At this point, if you're MarineLorD, the biggest things that you want to do against mech is secure an economic advantage via map control. And he hasn't really been able to do that because he ended up taking his 3rd after SpeCial, which is absolutely not what you want to have. Because SpeCial is going to start to scale really well as he's able to move into his upgrades, get the rest of his tech going, and SpeCial is actually getting medevacs too. So as his bluefin +1 finishes, he's going to be looking for those potential 2 shots on the SCVs. Of course, he's going to get armor upgrades for those, but we're going to see more of this, which was it Euthermal was one of the first players we saw here in the ESL Pro Tour going for a little bit more medevac-based mech. Of course, it was against some Zergs, but I don't mind it at all. It can really Hellion drops from a mech player in TVT can be nasty because the bio player never wants to build turrets.
Yeah, and especially on a map like this as well, where there's just no good way to run Hellions across the map when the Terran or your opponent has the control that he has right now. So yeah, you resort to the drops instead. Can be great, as we're just going to see SpeCial is moving forward, but MarineLorD swinging around the right side. Let's see how this continues forward. As there is that little drop set up and ready to go. Looking as though he just wants to unload onto the army if he sees the chance. Well, big drop loads up to the right side, and this time it feels as though SpeCial is out of position. There's a single missile turret, then a second. How much will that do? One medevac down. The next that will fall is already empty. He has got Hellions. He's got a couple tanks teaching.
Oh, he's going to drop the Hellbats. The medevac's coming to play. Just dunks right on top. He already had tanks sitting in his main. So what does it cost him? A few of his Hellions, and he got the turrets, but for 4 medevacs of supply, I'm going to tell you, no matter what this says on the screen, getting that out of your base, keeping the production and the add-on safe, that's a huge dub for SpeCial, and now he's sitting pretty supply-wise.
He is looking good, man. I mean, he's been looking good for a lot of this game, past the very early stages. Right now, maybe going to get engaged into from the right side. I thought the left side army might go for it as well, because
MarineLorD just doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough army supply anymore.
I thought he has to go for it here, because if he doesn't, then it's a base trade. But he's a base trade where he's just going to be slow on the base trade, because he doesn't have much to base trade with. I guess let's see if he can do enough. He does catch a few of these tanks that were moving forward. His SpeCial's going to go for the full-on retreat.
But he still has the 3 tanks in the main.
Yeah, absolutely no way. MarineLorD stop chasing. He does.
SpeCial's about to siege up his production. That's it. GG. We're going to game 3.
Yeah, everyone kind of expected this to be a close series, right? I think potential for it to go either side, go to 3 games, apart from me, who decided to say it was a 2-0 at the last minute. But, no, I think this is just a game where I think SpeCial always looks good. Whenever he gets, even not the best start, but a start that lets him get into his mech style, he always looks good with his mech, and this was a perfect example where, yeah, okay, maybe the first couple minutes weren't great, but then the follow-up was amazing. Everything that MarineLorD tried to do got sniped down, medevac here, medevac there, main push at the front can't do anything, and then all of a sudden you've got someone who's been playing mech for the entire game just walking across the map, and your army supply is nowhere close. And hey, gotta love those freaking medevacs, right? Because those medevacs were amazing, dropping back into his own main base to defend. Worked out wonderfully.
Yeah, I think this was one of the most crucial moments in the game, because not only did he kill those Reapers, but we talked about whether or not he recognized that it was a second factory, and that's what sets up the Cyclones to grab the medevac on the other side, because you're only going to build like a couple, generally, like maybe three max in any normal TVT, but it just kind of ended up snowballing because he got all the units out that he needed, and when you're a mech player who gets that extra money, you can afford to do things like leave tanks in your main for a big drop. If you're able to cull that economy early on and actually put the pressure, do what you're supposed to do as a bio player, the mech, you have soft points. But here, SpeCial ended up not having any of those because he was able to get that medevac early, and the SCV kills didn't end up hurting him that much because that second factory, just brutal, but great build choice by SpeCial. I love to see stuff like that.
Fantastic stuff. We get a game 3. I think that's what you wanted, no matter the scoreline here. 3 maps, a bit of TVT. Of course, the winner of this has to play Rogue in the decided match. That's probably not going to be fun. I actually really thought that if there was a Zerg beatable today for these guys, it was more so going to be Dark. I think the way he plays has a bit more tendency to have openings and have weaknesses. I feel like Rogue's going to be really tough. But for now, they have to just focus on getting their prize money, even if they just win this series and lose afterwards anyway. So a lot to play for, as in the top right-hand side, our French Terran in the red is MarineLorD.
And his opponent in the bottom left, the blue Terran player, he is SpeCial. It is quite interesting to think about the way that last game went too, because it's one of the 2,000 Atmospheres is a map where you're generally a little bit easier to defend against things like Reapers because of, like we were talking about, you can't jump up from the natural into the main. There's no cliffs at all. So the proxy Reaper becomes questionable because of that, but it's like not too much of an investment. The double Reaper on almost any other map where you have like just distance between the access points, I think if he gets all 3 up and just gets the 3v2, it almost turns into like a game-winning situation, or at the very least, you're able to kill a few SCVs before the Cyclone comes out. And here we have MarineLorD with a proxied second barracks and taking the second gas. So I'm going to assume more Reapers.
Yeah, he seems to like these Reaper styles. It was kind of funny because last game I really liked what he was doing basically, right? And then it really didn't amount to anything, you know, and it just felt like all the Reapers died inconsequentially, and yeah, they're a bit of a scout and so on, but yeah, I really felt there was going to be more. Let's see what he does this time. With one on the map, it's always difficult to tell at SpeCial what's going on. In SpeCial, no second gas, right? So it's a fast expand on the low ground. And that's always a little bit brutal because against 2-Rex Reaper of any variation, you're just going to struggle to defend this base.
Yep, and MarineLorD was, had a cheeky little tweet. Was after the first series was saying that he did not believe that he should be able to defeat either of these top Korean Zerg players. But he made a comment about the latency, of course, with online tournaments and some of the struggles of that. I think playing around Reapers is definitely one of the ways to try to take advantage when you get a home server, because usually it's going back and forth. So I think it makes a lot of sense that he's relying on the Reapers. And obviously, his control with them has been really good. I don't think he was behind after the way that last game started. SpeCial just ended up having a much better follow-up with the Cyclones, because that's the one way you get map control early on as a mech player. If you build those Cyclones, you can do a lot. Now the Reapers show up. SpeCial does manage to save that Reaper. Very important. But this natural is going to get delayed.
Yeah, the good news is there's no Hellions showing up, so at least you are getting that Marine count up a little bit here as SpeCial, and if there's no Hellion, then I can kind of believe you're on a timer because of the bunker.
He wants the command center now. He's like, if you don't have Hellions, if this is just Reapers and Marines, this is going to be a whole lot easier for me to deal with, because he can just run away and kite and heal forever. But there is that one Hellion now. Killing this SCV will be pretty important. And he's going to try to finish this command center so he can lift off real quick. Just got to take the wrapping paper off of this one.
Yeah, just wants to finish it, even just morph into an orbital, right? Just stop being slowed down in that regard. MarineLorD's command center has only just now started, so it is important for him to slow down, delay, and to do something that is a commitment from him. And I feel as though not getting a cancel on this CC is already decent for SpeCial.
He still has to be really careful, too, because he's hitting that command center a lot. And it's important to keep in mind that in 1v1, without really big AoE hits from the Hellions onto the Reapers actually beat the Hellions. So if he kites away from the Marines and the Reaper, he can actually still just keep doing tremendous damage. And just look at how low this is. If you're SpeCial, you're going to have to think about repairing that a little bit now. At the very least, it's going to cost him something, as he's forced to lift that bad boy off.
I like the Banshee and I like the Cyclone, though. I feel like that's the right setup here from SpeCial, just to push this back. Again, at the end of the day, MarineLorD a couple of workers up, but is still not getting energy on an orbital, right? There's already been an additional mule for SpeCial, so keep that in mind as the CC needs to keep lifting off, though. We're getting to the right amount of units. Here comes the Cyclone. Remember that Banshee coming soon as well. The CC obviously providing vision, so the Cyclone does not lose its lock on good grenades, but with the Banshee here, this should be it. But you actually lose 5 SCVs. That felt like it was unnecessary. With the Banshee so close, I don't feel like you needed to lose SCVs here at all.
And now he has to repair the orbital command, as that Banshee's going to go across. Seeing this, very important. He has a Raven on the way. Look, he just canceled his tank and started the Cyclone. So that's a huge scout from MarineLorD. A Raven and a Cyclone completely shut down Banshees. It's the #1 reason why they're not that popular. In fact, Juanito, he's not even going to get cloaked for this, because that's just how TVT is these days. The Raven it's so important, you really can't afford to skip it.
Yep, no, it's more common to see just one cloakless Banshee. And it's surprising how much one cloakless Banshee can do, because people really disregard the potential for it, even though nowadays it feels so common. So yeah, just knowing about it's a good confirmation. Cyclone will be out, and you're just going to be that little bit more careful about making sure you're not going to let this Banshee fly in and get a bunch of SCVs, because SpeCial would like 2-3 SCVs just to bring this game a little bit closer again. Going to lose a Marine or 2 here. Nope, one shot in the Marine, then the SCVs, and he's going to get a second SCV. Okay.
He's got to buy time for the Cyclone to get over. And all of these maps, by the way, that we've been getting for the last year and a half just have these absolute Grand Canyons behind the main bases. And they're like, well, we wanted to see a little bit easier air harass, and now you could they might as well bring those floating bases from the Alpha back, because you have enough room to just plant it in the corner.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? There's definitely not a lot of bases you can't keep a medevac behind nowadays. Not complaining as a Terran main, though. I'm okay with it.
That's what makes Terran. It's what makes Terran good, is being able to make use of units like this. The Banshee does get caught on the very edge where that Cyclone was able to reach it. That's actually really nice, because he can start to reposition everything towards the front once again, as SpeCial tries to get a little more information. But these Reapers are ready to try to go for a counterattack. They run straight into the Marines in the tank. Good response by SpeCial.
Yeah, it's always scary when your opponent opens Reapers and still has them alive, because all game long you're worried about those Reapers. If they pop in just for a few moments, it's going to cancel Stim, right? You just go for this, no doubt about it. Multiple order turrets target fire the tech lab. I mean, SCV's had a long time to prepare for this because he was so slow dropping it down. Now he's actually going to go for it again. We come back in, we will get more SCVs. Okay, you don't get stim, but you get a lot of SCVs. I'm fine with that.
That's the choice. You know, that's like a straight up saw trap. It's like, well, you can let me stab you, or you can stab yourself, I guess. And he's like, okay, well, take my SCVs. The stim is worth it. I'll bleed a little to keep my upgrades going because you need it. He's playing bio. And it's also lining up with an unusual setup, too, because it's typically double engineering bay, very macro focused when you're playing bio and TVT, but he's got +1 finishing. He hasn't made that like super economic investment. He needs to hit something with the timing that he has. So these units are going to move out across the field. +1 is done. He starts up combat shields. And the edge that this gives him, because Stim is done too for specials, it should be done by the time he reaches his base anyway, but both of his upgrades start together. And that means the first one is quite a bit ahead for MarineLorD.
Yeah, MarineLorD definitely a bit of a timing here, and he's obviously looking to work around to the bottom side, so he can actually put a bit of a siege on one of the gases of special, perhaps. He does have a Raven which hasn't used its energy yet, so a fairly full energy Raven, but still against 2 Ravens that have had time to get some energy back after auto turreting, so Special has a reasonable response to this, I would say, as we move forward a little bit. Our Marines looking at each other here. Now this Raven looking for the chance to get something done. Oh my goodness, this Raven
he sees that there's just one tank, so he goes for it. However, there was the one on top of the main base ramp. Yep. He throws on his second interference matrix. I think he bleeds out a few more of the Marines than he needed to, but that command center actually still being as low as it was kind of awkward, but with nothing to protect the siege tanks, Special is able to just collapse on this with the rest of his forces. I think MarineLorD got a little bit greedy there. If you siege just to the right, you were already saying it, you can siege the gas from the outside on this map. It's something that a lot of people hate, but he tries to go for a little bit more, and well, he gets bit in the back for it.
This is already bad for MarineLorD, and it could have been worse because his Raven very nearly went down without a cast because they flew straight into the Marines, and Special's like, wait, am I stimming for this? He's like, he did just a moment too late. Doesn't matter, he got a beautiful cleanup anyway. He's up a few workers, his 3rd CC MarineLorD, it's not even done yet, so down the orbital for a few more moments, right? Everything's just trending towards Special here. Now, it's not over. It's far from that, but of course, he's going to have that 1-1 now, so the upgrades are once again even. His armory is finished, and there's not an armory on the way for MarineLorD right now, so he's going to fall further behind in upgrades.
Yeah, just a couple of things here and there that's working out really well for Special in terms of the way this has gone down. MarineLorD had that timing, but again, kind of blundered a little bit with the way that he pushed in, got a little overzealous. And Special, his worker lead was around 12 as he took that base, so he was able to immediately saturate it. And since they're both playing bio, every mineral is worth a whole lot. He's pumping out, I think, somewhere like 8 Marines at a time when he has all the barracks fully running. So comes over, he wants to harass, but he doesn't have air control at all. Vikings just smite the medevac, and now he's got 1 medevac for his whole army. Interference matrix, Special's like, get out of here.
Yeah, he's actually going to engage in with his own Marines coming through, even though combat shield wasn't done. I mean, just pushing back another siege tank, MarineLorD not able to benefit there. And again, that armory being late. You know, upgrades aren't always immediately effective in TVT because a lot of it is the tank fire. But the few skirmishes that do come down in Marine on Marine for more than a couple of seconds, upgrades will shred. So that's something you got to be cautious of as MarineLorD. There are only certain fights he's going to be able to take once those upgrades kick in. If he even gets there, Specials off across the map, and well, let's see, as he does see this army of MarineLorD, so he can siege up in plenty of time and just hold the middle for now, and then work forward from this.
It's very awkward with how tight that low ground choke is, but Special's done a really good job so far, not only trying to get himself into that position to move out, he's going to try to open this so he doesn't have to go through such a tight choke point like we were discussing. But the way that those air units, too, he's like microing both of his armies together very well, very cohesive control out of our Latin American representative.
I mean, he's still got the Ravens, and MarineLorD doesn't, so that's immediately an advantage too. He's going to stim down here because he knows he can get the tanks with the Ravens if he needs them. Now he gets an anti-arm missile, drops an auto turret for a few moments as well, and he's just going to keep on trading. The one tank on the right side is doing a lot, though, and these Vikings will just have to back away with the medevac. He loses Ravens. I mean, if he just brought any amount of these tanks forward at the same time, it would have been even better for Special, and even at the end, it was okay. Great for MarineLorD to get the Ravens at least, because if he doesn't get those, Special continues to push in with no issues.
Yeah, that anti-armor missile is really strong, but wasn't quite able to hit center mass. And you know what really is terrifying me? 2-2 for Special is done. Yeah. MarineLorD's getting +2 attack, but it's not just the attack upgrades when it comes to the Marines, is it, Wardy? If it 2-1 versus 2-2, you get slaughtered. You have to have at worst, equal upgrades, or you just need to have a million tanks, but he does not have that. Special's going to continue to try and move forward with these tanks inching his way.
He's got Liberators as well, with air control, right?
Yeah, this is where it just becomes, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to be able to stop this. His Marines are straight up worse, even though he has a lot of them. But it's not like there's no tanks for Special. He's got 6 of these bad boys sieging this base up. He has the sensor tower at home. MarineLorD did take a 4th base already, but he's going to be forced to attack into this, and that is not going to go well. He is coming in with a flank, though, hitting from the west and the east, hitting from the west and the east at the same time. Does manage to spread them out perfectly to prevent the tanks from getting those beautiful value hits. However, does he have enough to continue to push this back and solidify and stabilize his defenses? It doesn't seem so. Special's continuing to move up. Vikings are going to land. Another tank in the back says no, and he manages to stay alive for a few more moments, Wardy.
That tank in the back just annihilated the 2 Vikings. They're like
kills.
Yeah, woo! They were like, I'm going to land and just help out, and the other tank in the back says no. 2 Vikings dead in an instant. I mean, now these libs aren't as powerful without Viking support, but obviously there's still not a lot to get rid of them on the side of MarineLorD. Yeah, they're going to get at least 1 tank here unless the pickup is good. Oh, but now you lose 2 of them to the Marines stimming in. SpeCial pulls it back from 1-0 down.